Detroit Lions. Talk about a smackdown. They scored on every single possession, and they also had 7 drives, 7 freaking touchdowns. Isn't 7 the perfect number?
Yes.
That's what I was told. Yeah. That's what I was taught. That's what I knew growing up. And the Detroit Lions went out there, and Ben Johnson put on a masterclass. I was hoping, hey, hold them to under 10 points. That's what I was hoping. And they did that. The defense went out there and worked. And it was crazy, Flannel. They just looked like they were playing like a college team. Yeah. They looked so much faster, so much more physical, so much more just like precise with everything, that this was a beatdown of epic proportions. I looked at the scores from previous weeks, and I'm like, wait, the Jags didn't look that bad, but the Lions made them look that bad.
It was one of the most dominating performances I've ever seen on an NFL field. There's high school versus JV that aren't as dominant. There's Power 4 versus NIAI games that aren't as dominant in a college football. It was absolutely unbelievable. And honestly, I got to give a shout out to Ben Johnson, because he'd been hearing some of the noise, even from somebody like myself, who hadn't been critical of him, but have been telling you guys and everybody who wants to listen that Aaron Glenn has been the more valuable coordinator this season. And I think Ben Johnson took that a little personal.
Yeah, he did.
Obviously, I'm sure they're happy to be the 2 best coordinators in the NFL, but this was 7 possessions, 7 touchdowns. As you said, Koolaid, every single it looked so easy. Did they even sweat in that game?
Did you see Jared Goff on the bench? He showed like 20 of 24, 300-something yards, and he was sitting there sulking like he was thinking about last week. I'm like, but you won last week, bro. And it's like, if these are the types of monsters that, you know, and just ferocious beasts that Dan Campbell is raising, and just, hey, this is what we're going to be now. It's just like, oh my gosh. This is how you're going to feel. You beat a good Houston Texans team, but because you want perfection, because you want Super Bowl, because you understand how close you got last year and it slipped away, I kind of got it, and I vibed with it. And you know what? Social blew up with it too, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of my takeaways that I get from this game as well, and we're going to expound on each of these individual guys as the show goes on. So Shad, I gotta save some stuff for later, Shad. Trust me, you will get what you want. I will give the people what they want. But this is the Oprah game. Everybody gets numbers. Everybody gets to absolutely. Everybody gets a touchdown. Everybody gets to. I don't want to say pad stats because that's kind of a dirty term, but there have been games from like Jared Goff, from Amon-Ra St. Brown, from Jameson Williams, where they won, but those respective players didn't have to do a whole lot in terms of their numbers. And the reality is, we know, and Jameson Williams, of course, was suspended for a couple of games, but the reality is that
Jersey Watt.
This, absolutely, we're going to get into that. This season is Super Bowl or bust. No question about it. If they win the Super Bowl, everything's great no matter what. If they don't, we go home crying. However, wouldn't it be nice for Jared Goff to get the MVP? Wouldn't it be nice for Amon-Ra St. Brown to be first-team All-Pro? Wouldn't it be nice for Kirby Joseph to lead the NFL in interceptions? And wouldn't it be nice for Jameson Williams to have 1,000 yards? The Jacksonville Jaguars, there's nothing that they could do to stop the train, and this is a game in which pretty much every single person who needed to get their numbers in terms of individual accolades and then reaching their individual accolades got them. I'm not saying individual accolades matter, but it's nice for a lot of these offensive players to really get on track, especially a Jared Goff. We knew it was going to be a get-right game. We didn't know it was going to be this good.
Look at him, man. That's the picture I was talking about, and everyone was like, man, he's really taking this personal. And I hope that is the vibe that they take. No satisfaction until you are taking a chunk out of a Super Bowl kneecap. No validation, no satisfaction, no power rankings lifts, no type of glazing that we are doing. I want that energy right there, all the way to a Super Bowl win. Dan Campbell, I don't know how the heck they're cooking up what they're cooking up, but I am so glad it's happening right here in Detroit. And whatever they saw to say, you know what, we got to make sure we lock this coach in even before we have a GM. Like, that just speaks to the health of this organization and why other organizations out there are trying to emulate. And you know what, Flannel, I got a number for you. I got some stats.
Let's do it.
1,052. What does that number mean to you?
1,052.
Yes.
Is that...
Ooh, what do you guys think, chat family? 1,052. These are yards. And they do relate to a Detroit Lions player. Does anybody want to take a guess?
Jahmyr Gibbs total yards.
Jahmyr Gibbs total yards. The first Detroit Lions skill player over 1,000 total yards on the season. I just wanted to make sure that we shouted him out for that.
Yes.
The type of season that he is having right now is epic. He's almost at 800 yards rushing. He's at 796 on the season, 256 receiving yards. Now, last year he had 316. He's going to definitely have a lot more than that. He might get to 500 receiving yards or blow past that this season.
He might. That was that was actually a really nice number. It took me a second, but no, 1,000.
I knew you would get it though.
1,000 total yards.
How would you not get it?
Hey, eventually I was gonna get it. 1,000 total yards in 10 games. You absolutely love to see it. And there are some other numbers that really just prove how dominant this was. The Lions outgained the Jaguars 645 to 170. 645 to 170. That's what we talk about when we talk about this was varsity versus JV. No, this was D1 college versus JV in high school. They didn't even look like they were playing the same sport. And that's the type of dominance that you rarely see, even from the best of the best teams, even from the Super Bowl winning teams. You don't always see dominant performances like this, or against Tennessee or against Dallas. They are killing teams. If they continue like this, and obviously they're not going to win every game 52-6 as their schedule is, they're going to have tougher opponents, but we could be talking about a margin of victory throughout the season or a score differential, which is historic because they've baked in these just absolute beatdown blowouts.
What have I been asking for since last season? You know, it was interesting being able to kind of jump on a couple of different shows and seeing the different perspectives. And the one perspective that everybody had, which I feel like ultimately cost us in that, we have to go back to it, that NFC Championship game, is their inability to keep their foot on the pedal for as long as they want to keep it on the pedal. And we saw that there were other teams that were able to say, you know what, no, we're going to break you right now. We're going to throw out the tack strip, and we're going to take out the tires. Shout out Need for Speed. But this year, it seems like the Detroit Lions are saying, we are not allowing anybody to slow us down, especially after that Buccaneers game. I feel like they look at their record, and I hope that they are disgusted. Like, if Jared Goff is looking like that over a win, you can't tell me that they get up every morning, look at that record, and don't say, what the heck? Because every loss since after the NFC North, after that NFC Championship game is going to hurt. It has to hurt. And that's the type of stuff that I'm hoping that fuels them. They know exactly who they are and what they are, and that they never want to feel that pain of losing again. And that's why I'm just like, man, whatever this squad is doing, keep your pedal to the metal, because the offense yesterday, people were like, oh, maybe they're going to slow it down. No, they're not. They're not, because they've done that before and they've caught L's. Like, you know what? Get the work in right now. Line up and stop me. How about that? It's the NFL. Line up and stop me.
And the Jaguars were no match. And while we're talking about seven possessions, at least by the starters, and 7 touchdowns, we got to shout out the offensive line as well. Kept Jared Goff pretty much almost completely upright. He was hit twice. He wasn't sacked, and their run blocking was immaculate. And we all know against the Houston Texans, the offensive line probably had their worst day. They had their worst day. Jared Goff had his worst day. But you know what? That's how you respond. That's how you respond when an inferior opponent comes to town. And you know what also is very symbolic of them keeping the foot on the gas? They didn't even let Brian Thomas have that sideline catch when they were up 52-6.
Yeah.
Dan Campbell was just like, you know what? I'm just going to challenge this.
Yep.
Just because he can. Just because Brian Thomas didn't make the catch. And they're not, and nobody's going to get any cheapies, even if it's just garbage time yards that ultimately don't lead to points.
Ain't no love around here, man.
No love around. Oh my God. Hey, you know what? Just to make sure that we do it some justice, we'll definitely call out those 7 scores. The first one, David Montgomery, 2-yard rush in the first quarter. Oh my gosh, 3 of them things in the second quarter. Jahmyr Gibbs, 1-yard rush. And then David Montgomery, 6-yard rush. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 27-yard pass. Then third quarter, Jamison Williams, 64-yard pass from Jared Goff. Then Brock Wright, 5-yard pass from Jared Goff. Gosh.
Then Amon-Ra again.
Fourth quarter, Amon-Ra St. Brown,
Another
9-yard pass, and then you got to
Another
get
one.
Jake Bates some work. Every single possession, they score.
KG,
Yes, sir.
keep taking Jake Bates victory laps.
Hey, you
Please.
damn right. You see the Michigan Panthers shirt on. Y'all know what it is. 54 yards.
Talk
The
about
man
we
hasn't
talking
missed
about?
a field goal. He hasn't missed a field goal. And his last 3 were 50-plus yarders. Doesn't miss.
It's like every phase of our special teams. Is it elite? Is it a weapon? Like Jake Bates is a weapon.
course.
Jack Fox is a weapon. Khalif Raymond is a weapon.
You've
Gosh,
got maybe
keep your foot on the pedal,
you've
guys.
got maybe the best punt returner. You definitely have the best punter, and at least statistically, there's no kicker who's kicking better than Jake Bates in the NFL right now. Am I ready to call him the best kicker yet? Maybe not, but this season, he's making a Pro Bowl case. He is. He hasn't missed. His last 3 were 50-plus yards, and the ones against the Texans were with all of the pressure in the world. Those were some important kicks.
Man, and you know what? It's like Lindsey Hunter reminds me. It's what Bill Belichick did. It gets you an elite special teams. Good offense, good defense, but elite special teams.
Yeah.
Those are the things that power Super Bowl and championship winning squads. Right now, the Detroit Lions look like a juggernaut. That's not going to allow anybody to slow them down. And you know what? We got to talk about Mr. Sulking Man himself, Jared Goff. He had a perfect passer rating.
He did.
Goodness gracious. How many perfects are we going to get? Perfect halves, perfect games, perfect passer ratings. Jared Goff, man, you talk about a guy who got the bag. People didn't think it was people wanted to see. What are we going to get? He's elite. And you talk about spreading the football around 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different
Wide
Lions
receivers,
players
man.
caught passes yesterday, bro. Jared Goff, right? Let's put out these stats real quick. 24-29, 412 yards, 14.2 yards. That's the average, man, per throw. 4 touchdowns, 93.9 QBR, 158.3 quarterback rating. Shout out to Hendon Hooker with the 103.1 rating as well.
Hey, shout out
You look great out there. Kid look great out there.
I'll say
I
this
like what I
though,
saw.
Hendon Hooker could have won that game yesterday, but that's neither
That's
here.
what I'm talking about.
That's neither here nor there,
go.
because Jared Goff, he had his get right, but he blew that away in droves. A perfect passer rating.
I was going to ask you, 158.3, is that like perfect or something?
It is perfect.
Okay.
It is a perfect passer rating. And the best compliment I can give to Jared Goff in terms of just the season that he's having, I did not think that he could completely erase that 5 interception game in terms of his standing as an MVP frontrunner in one game. But Jared Goff did just that. A perfect passer rating, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. And I'm actually glad because us as Lions fans, as I was saying before, we want them to, it's Super Bowl or bust. That's all we really care about. But wouldn't a Jared Goff MVP sit just right? Imagine Stick and Neil if that happened. They would lift this desk without their hands. But for real though, and that's why I'm glad actually that the Lions didn't take their foot off the gas and they let Jared Goff sling it around in the second half. And I actually think the touchdowns that he threw were such a I know we overuse the term microcosm, but I'm going to say microcosm of who Jared Goff is as a quarterback. He described himself after the game as he was playing point guard. Well, he looked like prime magic out there yesterday because when you look at, I'm just going to look at his touchdown passes. The first one to Amon-Ra. Amon-Ra runs a shallow crosser from the slot. Jared Goff hits him perfectly in stride, and he's just able to basically walk into the end zone. The second one, that was the J-Mo touchdown, a 20-yard throw deep over the middle in which J-Mo catches it right in stride and is able to just jog into the end zone and finish off with a Marshawn Lynch celebration. The third one, the one to Brock Wright. He just sits back in the pocket, just waits for somebody to get open. Boom, Brock Wright, wide open, nobody near him, touchdown. And then the fourth one, which is a throw that he has made a million times. Obviously, it's an exaggeration, but it seems like that. And he probably has to this guy in practice and games combined. Just an out route, like an 8-yard out route in the end zone, hits Amon-Ra St. Brown perfectly on time. Amon-Ra St. Brown with a toe tap, touchdown. Jared Goff was phenomenal yesterday, and he pretty much erased whatever stench that 5 interception game had on him, and he's he's right back in terms of being one of the absolute front runners for the MVP. More on that tomorrow, but he was absolutely immaculate yesterday.
And that's why I'm glad that we were really, really bullish on Jared Goff. Hey, I love the back screen as well. Shout out to Jared Goff. But it's because I didn't believe, as you guys stated as well, one game should sink what he's been the entire season. And if anybody, like all of the rush judgments, like, okay, does he have work to do now? Has he brought himself down from the pantheon of this guy's a clear MVP to now you're in the conversation? Sure. But to have heard NFL players or ex-NFL players and media members saying he's brought himself out of the conversation to me was such a crazy rush to judgment. And now you have all of these people, though, still sitting here saying, oh, yeah, the Lions could go undefeated the rest of the season. Like, stop being so quick to just want to toss Jared Goff out in the trash just because you see one little, like, bump in the road. Like, welcome to Detroit. We got potholes here. Even if my rims get cracked, bro, we still riding to where we got to go and do work. And that's the mentality that I have with Jared Goff, man. The guy just does work. If you got a bad day, you have a bad freaking day. Stuff happens. Who are you going to be when that happens, though? Because being from here and being a Lions fan and going through what we're going through with the Pistons and all of our squads, we know bad stuff going to happen. But, like, is your heart, as my old coach used to tell me, my college coach, is your heart pumping milk or is it pumping blood?
That's a bar right there. Yeah. And this is the type of game which is proof as to why you couldn't, the people like RG3, for example, who said Jared Goff's MVP case was dead, they were kind of talking nonsense. We all understood that he had to play his way back into it, but he did that in one freaking game. I gave you the pathway to Jared Goff becoming a possible MVP. I said that they needed to go 15-2 or 16-1, and he needed to play great the rest of the season. I'll tell you what, they might not even have to go 15-2 or 16-1. He just needs to keep playing clean, and hell, he could finish the season with 35 touchdowns and like 10 or 11 picks, and the Lions are at worst 14-3. That's an MVP season. It depends, of course, on what other people do, but there were some other people that did not have a great day yesterday who are his competition in the MVP. I'll just say that. More on that tomorrow.
Chill my fantasy quarterback.
More on that tomorrow. But KG, your cough, it sounds like a quarterback's name. I don't know who it is, but I didn't know you coughed like that.
Lamar Jackson. Sorry, that's a lot of marijuana.
Like that.
Lamar Jackson. But, I mean, this is what we all knew. And Koolaid, I told you last week that he could play his way back into it. Of course, we needed to see it. 5 picks was not a good look. However you want to slice it, however you want to divvy the interceptions up, it wasn't a good look. I'm glad he wasn't satisfied. I'm glad he went out there and took the hearts out of the Jaguars, man. I'm glad they let him go out there and sling the rock in the second half and then just, sit on the game, pause. Like, I'm so glad, because this is what separates the good quarterbacks from the great quarterbacks. Not being satisfied. It doesn't matter, man. He wanted a better performance. He knew he was capable of a better performance, and he went out there and gave it to you. Now, we know it's against a Jaguars team that sucks, for lack of better words. We all know that, man. But Jared Goff is one of those guys, man. He is one of those quarterbacks, and I'm here for it, man. Like, he keeps putting on these great performances, and he is arguably your MVP right now. I mean, I know Josh Allen had a great day yesterday, but Jared Goff just continues to do it week in, week out, and with the best team, the best offense in the NFL, man. So I know it's going to be up for grabs toward the end of the year, but I think Jared Goff will be right in that conversation.
Yeah, and he deserves to be right in that conversation, man. It's awesome to see what he's doing that is contributing as well to winning. It's not just a good season, but they're dominating. They're going out there. I saw Neil. He was like, yo, I'm at the grocery store. Yes, the game is still going on.
That was funny.
And I was like, I'm posting this one, bro. And it was just, Lions are demolishing teams, and YouTube ate it up. Why? Because that's exactly what they're doing. And I do wonder how these other squads, you're coming into these games, what do you do? 9 different people caught passes, bro.
Yeah, there's not. I mean, if you're the Jacksonville Jaguars, just I guess pray. Yeah. Hope that there's like a plague on your team so that you have to forfeit at this point. I'm not saying that other teams should do that, but if you're the Jaguars, you definitely should.
I don't know. If you're the Houston Texans, maybe you should have did something else.
Well,
maybe.
They did all they could.
That's what I'm saying. You look at the season and how this went. People can say, "Oh man, that was a good game." It wasn't. When the Lions said, "Okay, game over, Vikings," they got boat race. They got there was
Vikings won in a game. Like Lions won in a game-winning field goal.
It was a 10-0.
I understand.
Lead.
They
It was a
had
10-0
control
lead.
of that game from the moment they went 21 unanswered. They had control of that
That's
game.
what I'm talking about.
See,
That's boat racing.
Okay.
Listen,
I can't say boat race. I'll let you finish, but go ahead. Go
I
ahead.
understand as it relates to respect of the final score, but as it relates to how that game flow actually went, yes, there's going to be times where you have some off moments. I can't state that the Vikings were up 10-0 because the Lions were playing their best and the Vikings were just better. They weren't. The Lions were not playing their best at all. And they stated it. As soon as we figured out what the game was over. And that's what I mean by bull race. There was no more winning at that point in time. At all. And the Texans, same thing. Hey, 23 unanswered. No more winning for you. There's nothing else you're going to do this game. That's what I mean by boat racing. They've consistently done this to team after team after team. They give them 1 or 2 or 3 drives. They may be there for a half. And then after that, there's nothing else for that other squad. And that's what I mean. So as it relates to final score, okay, Jags got boat race. But as it relates to the flow of that game and sitting back and realizing, even down 10-0, Vikings they're cooked. Even Cody, Texans fan, was like, my team is cooked. I'm like, bro, you're up 2 touchdowns. My team is cooked. Your team is that deal.
Well, and he was right, because just even watching that game, like I said about the Lions, I don't want to call it devil magic because they make their own magic. Because in the Texans game, for example, that defense turned into the 85 Bears for the second half, the 2000 Ravens. No, like for real. 7 second half possessions. What was it? 2 interceptions, 4 punts, and a missed field goal. Like I can't even call that devil magic because the defense just put the clamps on.
Yeah,
the absolute clamps.
Yep. And I do get your point because I'm hoping that this team, and it looks like they don't take any possessions off. Like every single possession matters. And I hope that every single game matters exactly how we saw them play it last night. And I'm hoping that as they progress through the season and more of what these teams are trying to do to confuse the Lions early on, that they have that stuff figured out. The cool thing, though, is that I know this. The game plans that Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn are going to bring to the table every single week are going to be winning game plans, no matter what the other team is trying to do. No matter what. I do expect some little hiccups. I expect some little bumps in the road. But ultimately, I expect largely what we've seen this season, which is crazy.